Record.
Welcome to the Beeline, everybody. Tonight's a little bit more low-key edition. We've had a lot of stuff going on in North Carolina with the election, so I didn't want any more music, no more song and dance. I wanted this to be a little bit more intimate, a little calmer. So, thank you for joining us tonight. We've got such a cool thing that happened this week that I can't wait to share with you guys, like, all the nuances of what happened and this idea that Brian came up with and sort of how we put it into practice like right away just to see what would happen. And so, Sarah, do you have anything that you want to share before I like dive right into this? Because I'm really excited about it. So,
I think that sharing tonight will be twofold purposes. One, this is just a really incredible and fun reminder that anybody can have a great idea, and we can make it happen and run with it really, really quickly. But I also think that the idea is so profound that it could fundamentally change how we do business, at least in some markets. And these ideas don't come along very often. So I'm obsessed with the idea, and it, for an idea generator type of person, for me to say like, good God Almighty, hot dog and chili, this is the best idea I've heard in a year, probably takes a lot. And so that's what happened. And so that is how I'm going to tee up Zach and Agent B. And I'm going to mute myself because I got a kid and a husband over here. So
yeah, keep that guy quiet. So listen, so here's the thing. So obviously, we're bringing rentals. It's pretty new to Raleigh. It's a new concept. Not a lot of people do it. Similar to how we did it in Denver. But we don't have Brian Jones, and we didn't have Jody on the ground. We're really, we're trying to figure this out, and we're trying to figure out, what can we do in Raleigh that would be a little bit different than Houston, where it's been done for a while now, and since we've been there, it's been done really well. Same thing in Dallas. We wanted to try some new ideas, and I think the thing that we struggled with was, okay, some buildings pay, some don't. The amount that's getting paid from private rentals is a joke, but how do we decide? Like, how do we decide what to charge? And we went back and forth, like, well, maybe we just do a bunch for free, and we'll just see what happens, kind of do some practice. And then we were like, well, I think our time is worth, $1,000. Maybe it's $2,000. I don't know. And we asked around. Brian asked some clients, and we said, okay, let's put it right on our agreement. Somebody's going to pay us $495. That's sort of a base level for service. And then it was just like, well, what if that's not right? And then Brian comes up with this idea the other day, and he said, hey, look, man, you tell the story, Brian. So tell me. This was you went to a restaurant in New York, right? That's where this all started.
No, so I obviously I catch a little bit of news on Twitter, and I found this article. And I went back and found this article that I saw last year, and it was a restaurant that was actually out of New Jersey, and they did it for a month, and it was eat what you want, pay what you want, and it was based off of how your experience was, what you ordered, what you thought, your thoughts about the ambiance, everything across the board. And they've had great success with it. And, for the most part, everybody kind of paid. They scaled their portion sizes down, but everybody paid I think it was about 85% of what their actual menu price was prior. So scaling the menu down, they probably did about the same. So when Zach and I, we bounced this around for a couple of straight weeks, and, I was fortunate enough to have 5 or 6 renters that I helped out at the end of last year. So I kind of started bouncing things off of them as we had these ideas and said, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about, $4.95? What do you think about charging nothing, having no barrier? And then, of course, I had a little pushback of the zero, just from a monetary sort of standpoint, looking at some of these commissions. And then we kind of looked at this idea, and I said, man, this could be brilliant. This could be different, and put it on the consumer. And as a great just conversation piece. And even one of my clients that I had late last year came in from Austin, and I think it was the 3rd or 4th condo I showed her that she loved. She said, okay, so when do I take care of you? I said, well, you don't take care of me. She said, oh, well, that's the way they do it in Austin. So she's one that I definitely reached out to. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's unique. It's a little bit different. kind of outside the box, and that's kind of why we really dig it. I think it creates that no barriers. Anybody can come, and if you might have somebody that gives you $50 for what you did. You might have somebody that gives you $1,000. Who knows? But some of it's based off of how long you've spent with that client. I think sometimes, when we looked at that $495 number, as much as we pride ourselves in what we do and we think we're absolutely worth that $495, what if we showed them 2 places and we rocked it and they knew right away that that second place was for them? Was that worth $495? I don't know. They might give you that $495 now, though. So.
And it's funny because this is I look like I'm in a scary police interview. Hold on, let me give you some background. Put some pillows up for you. Oh. So here's the thing, though, is this conversation is probably not going to resonate right away with people in Houston, because in Houston right now it's like the Wild West, and they're throwing money at you guys, and that's okay. Like, get it while you can. But for us here to try to establish a new market, we're like, hey, let's try some new ideas. And I think the beauty of this is we talked about this last week, and I was like, I love it. Let's research a little bit. Let's see if anyone else is doing this. There's a couple, like Panera has a division where they have a couple restaurants, and there's a few other people who do something similar to this. But we were like, fuck it, man, let's try it. Like, what's the worst? We don't know the answer. Like, we clearly can speculate all we want. But the things that we loved is, one, this allows anybody to have access to our service. So whether you could pay nothing or $2,500 or $3,000, that's great. We will help you the same either way. And I think that's the beauty of it, is you don't have to decide then as an agent, well, this one's worth more, so I'm going to put up with some headaches and I'm going to do this. Like, you are just going to give everybody the best that you've got. And I think that's great. The person who maybe can't even afford it and they throw you $100, that may be a lot harder than the person who can write you a check for $1,500. So here's the thing: is Samita asked a good question. We're asking the clients to pay. One of the things that we did discuss is, if we find them a private rental or a building that does pay, which is not that many yet, but then we would tell the client, because maybe then it's like, okay, well, I was going to give you $500, you got $400, so I'll give you the other $100 to kind of make you whole. So we're experimenting with this, but here's the cool thing: is we came up with this idea last week. We wrote it right into our agreement, and Brian was literally out with the client this weekend, and we had never tried this before, and he was like, I'm going to try it. And so, tell him what happened. Tell him about your first your thing with Jeff.
Well, he was wondering. I mean, it was obviously, moving forward, it will be part of something that we sit down and talk with, in a cool little, just kind of dialogue piece when we sit down with a client at first. But this one was a little bit after the fact, and showed him a couple properties. Had already kind of sent in his application on this property, and I met him at his office and kind of went through this, and he said, yeah, I was wondering what I was going to owe you. I said, that's the beauty of this. There's not a set amount. And he goes, huh? And I said, yeah, that's the beauty of it. He goes, that's a little different. I said, yeah, and that's why we love it. It's a little bit different. We just want you to, I said, because sometimes we spend a small amount of time with people, and sometimes it's a little bit longer. And he said he was ready to write me a check that day. So it was yesterday. He was like, man, you want me to just go ahead and write you a check? And I said, no. And here's another thing that we're kind of talking about is, because I don't want to be standing over this guy writing a check, and have that awkward moment. But, and that's kind of what we, Zach and I have kind of talked about, is maybe making it, or trying to make it anonymous. And that way there's literally no pressure on who that is, and maybe they can only afford to give $50. Maybe they just, spent all their money getting into this apartment with deposits and everything else. And I think that's, one of the other beauties of it.
Right.
But he absolutely loved it. I even gave it. I had another client that I was with today, in a rush. Literally showed 3 properties, gave her a quick tour of downtown Raleigh, and it was in 45 minutes, and went over agency and all this stuff, and still went over that piece as I was walking her to the R line in downtown Raleigh. How great! And she goes, "Oh my God, this is absolutely phenomenal. You don't have a set rate?" I go, Nah. You just take care of me.
I think the beauty of this is by now that you'll have the ability to have this conversation up front, is you'll get credit for all those little things that you do along the way, right? So anytime you, oh, sorry, you have to take a drink of your wine or something?
No, I'm just tallying. Like
Oh, I thought you were telling me to hold on.
tallying.
So you get to, I mean, that's the cool part. Like, whether you, let's say you meet them out late, or you, like, you're saying, hey, look, I'm going to make a sacrifice. I'm going to meet you. You get that. Maybe you get them better terms than they would have had otherwise. Maybe you find them a place they couldn't find. Maybe you, all these little things that you would get credit for. And then they get to factor that in at the end. I just, I think this is going to be brilliant, too, for new agents who maybe come into a market that's not like Houston, but maybe like ours, where it's like, I don't know what to ask people. I'm not comfortable asking for this much commission. I don't know that I'm worth it yet. And so this helps people get over that. Sarah, you talked about a great idea about using this as part of a listing presentation, which I was like, I don't know about that, but I think it can work.
Yeah, so let me just jump in here a little bit. So in Raleigh, the properties do not pay a lot. And when we first started in Denver, they did not pay a lot. Most buildings didn't pay anything, and those who didn't pay very much. And we kind of went in there with our positive mental attitudes, like, no problem, we'll change the market and they'll eventually pay us, which they have. But even still, the private rental market there, they don't pay very much, and there are buildings that don't pay at all. So for the Denver agents, they'll be able to roll out a pay what you want model. And if they get paid by a building, great. If they don't, we'll get paid by the clients. And it allows them to help customers without the blinders on of only seeing properties that will pay us. And there are other firms that charge $400 to $1,000 for what we do, what we already do for free. So it's sort of like, well, they charge $400 to $1,000. You should pay us what you think we're worth. And so from a listing perspective, I thought, let's think about listings that we don't have an opportunity to get, and how could this potentially be marketed so that we can get those listings. And the first market segment that I thought of, and Samita, this might be something for you, is like the for sale by owner market. Those folks are price sensitive. They don't want to pay a 6% listing commission. And every agent that's calling them is saying, hey, when you're ready to pay a 6% commission, you should call me. When you're ready to pay 6%, call me. What if we say, you know what? We understand that you don't see the value of a full 6% commission. What if we take your listing and then you pay us the value that you think we've earned, the pay what you want model? I think that will at least get you in front of people. And again, these are listings that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. And so if you can get in front of people and potentially get the business, and then from a listing generate buyers, how powerful is that? So the for sale by owner market, I think, is something that is very easily, we could get some penetration there. And then another way that I thought that this would be really valuable is an agent like me. Like, I'm moving from Houston to Denver, and I will be on the ground in Denver having done 0 transactions in the state of Colorado. It doesn't mean I'm not a good agent. It doesn't mean I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But it certainly, I could go and say, you know what, seller, I charge 7% in Texas, and I've sold $25 million in business. I am taking this, at a discount because, I want to bring my value to the table, but you can, pay me less. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there, like Zach said, about entering a new market. And, in the future, if somebody doesn't want to pay my full listing commission, there might be a junior agent with no experience who is willing to take less. And we don't have to send the business to another firm. We can say, you know what, there's an agent in our office that would love to get more experience, and I'll mentor them through the process, but they'll be your main agent, and you don't have to pay 7%. You can pay 5.5%, or you can pay 5%. And I just think it's a really, really cool, innovative idea, and it works for attorneys and it works for consultants, and it should, by all means, work in real estate, because don't we call ourselves professionals, right?
Yeah, and here's the thing. The beauty of this is just another tool that you can use. If you're dipping down, you're like, man, I could use a couple listings, or I'm not, I'm not feeling a certain thing. Like, this is something that you can use. There's no way to build an entire company around it. But for us in Raleigh, it's going to be a great tool for a while, especially when we bring on new agents and as we get things going. imagine that we go to every property manager and we're like, hey, if you can't help someone, send them to us. Here's how we work. They're going to be blown away. And, I mean, we came up with this idea, last Wednesday, less than a week ago, and you've already tried it twice and had a huge reaction. Now, Brian, tell everybody about the conversation you had with the lady today about she's coming from Austin, right?
Yeah, coming from Austin. It was actually a doorman of a building that I used to live in who, he always has people walking in the door looking for places to live, and he doesn't know. And he immediately hands out my card and says, call this guy, and Brian will take great care of you. And she's, after 20 minutes with her, she was like, oh my God, I wish I would have known about you guys and your service 5 days ago. I've been doing this all on my own and haven't had any sort of luck and haven't found anything. And she goes, and by the way, I'm relocating from Austin, and we're bringing a whole slew of people. And, if this works out well, we'd love to be able to kind of funnel some of that business directly to you guys. Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
so awesome.
I mean, where do I sign up? So I literally just got up, got done sending her a pretty lengthy email. We're going to go out and see a bunch more places tomorrow. Hopefully have her locked down in a lease by the end of the week.
I love this. I think there's, when we talk about this in the future, there will be some other agents who, they'll call it a discount brokerage, and they'll call it this, and they'll call it that. And what we're going to say is, no, this is just a very consumer-centric way of doing things, is how many agents are confident enough to say, I'm going to give you everything I've got because I know I'm worth every penny that I charge. In the past, I mean, we're not just banking on a model that was developed 50 years ago. Now listen, I will tell you this. For those of you who can go out there and you can get 6 or 7% listings, or you can go out and get, buyers bonuses and all this stuff, go get them. We're not going to say you have to use this, but we wanted to at least explain to you what's happening, because we think in Raleigh, in Denver, and some sort of spot cases, this will be really, really powerful. And we wanted to, it's just, to me, it was just fun to see it go from an idea to put into practice so quickly. I think that was one of the things that really excited me about it.
I love it, and I think it's brilliant. And, Zach, you told me on the phone that you are not an agent that will take a listing for less than 6% or whatever it is. And when you're like, there are plenty of agents who will pay you less, or who will take less, you should go call them. Well, now, if somebody truly doesn't want to pay that fee, you can literally say, we have an agent in our office who has 5-star service, but doesn't have as much experience as I do. Let me set you up with them, because they may accept a commission discount. And I think just keeping the business in-house is pretty awesome, because there are brand new.
And see, here's the thing. I don't even know that it has to be a discount. I think it's the pay what you want, because then who says that person doesn't go out there and just crush it and work like a dog and earn every penny of it? And the client all of a sudden would have never gotten an opportunity to see that. Yet here they are at the very end saying, you know what, that person busted their ass for me, and, they negotiated great terms, they got me this, they got me this. Like, they earned every penny that I would have paid someone else. That's a really powerful thing. So anyways, I'm excited. I'm excited to see it work more, and we're going to keep trying different stuff, and we'll report back.
I'm super pumped, too, because I think sometimes the pay what you want idea will result in even a higher commission. I just see it. I've always said we're going to be a 7% brokerage somehow, and I feel like this is my avenue. And it sounds so weird to say that, but I really do feel like this is going to wind up bringing us higher commission opportunities than anything else. Who has questions? Because this is such a novel idea.
Well, I can bring a little bit of history to it, actually.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
This is going to be a little bit strange, but I know that was one of the models that we don't want to remember. But Sam Walton basically undercut all of his prices when he started. I know you said 50 years ago, Zach, but it's one of those things where he said, look, I'm just going to undercut everybody in town and make people realize that I'm the cheapest, but I have good quality. And that's how he built an empire, by basically undercutting everything price-wise and getting to the point where he was just going to keep bringing people in the door, and he kept bringing the price up just slightly as time went on, and people saw that he had good service, good quality, good people, things like that. And that's how he built Walmart. So, not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I think there's the fact that we're doing it on a scale of saying, look, we want to do it at a discount. We want to bring people to the table and say, hey, these guys know what they're doing.
Well, and
concept, right?
But here's the thing, though. I want to make a really clear distinction is that we're not going to just say that this is done at a discount, because I think that we could actually end up getting more than the general person would get. And so to the outside, looking in, it may seem like a discount, but I think putting the power into the consumer's hands is a really, really bold move by a real estate company. I mean, it's something that there's no one has done, and some days we're going to make less, some days we're going to make more, but basically, say it again.
Are you talking straight listings? I mean, like buy side, sell side?
We haven't brainstormed really the buy side yet. To think that far. I think, the idea being less than a week old, the fact that we were like, yay, it's rolled out in Raleigh, we'll roll it out in Denver, we'll try the FSBO market here, and then where does this fit for listings? And the buyers is sort of like, let me mull this over in my head. But I think it's so powerful. I really do. And I think about somebody like you, Clay, who's like, you know what? Your mom needs a ride to San Antonio, and I happen to have Sunday afternoon off, and I can do that for you. Like, you don't get dollars for that in your 3% listing fee, but you might get dollars for it in a pay what you're worth model when they're sitting there going, my God, this man listed my house, found me a buyer without it hitting MLS because it wasn't my first choice. He got me higher than what I expected. He took care of my mom on the side. Like, you might ultimately, wind up better off. And, the real estate industry is crowded with part-time agents who don't give a shit and who don't know what they're doing. And if we can say, you know what, we do care and we do know what we're doing, and we're willing to stake not only our reputation on it, but the dollars in our bank account, I think there's something incredible about it. Like,
I think it's a way of showing ultimate confidence if we portray it that way.
Yeah, ultimate confidence. And I just,
And I can't wait to read the review of when this person says, Clay took care of my mom on the side. That sounds so bad.
It does sound bad, but we're talking about pay what you want, so it was worth every penny. I'm just kidding.
Totally. Clay, you're worth every penny. I heard that.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, so hold on. I saw somebody say I can use this in Houston. It just flashed up on my phone. I didn't see it, but I want to hear.
And I don't know if she's on speaker or not, but she and I talked a little bit.
I want to hear
about it in the office.
I want to hear what she thinks. Like, how does she think she could use it? Because she's new.
So I mentioned, she's from Florida. She can go to if she has a listing appointment in Houston and say, you know what, my listing fee is 6%. I did tens of millions of dollars of business in Florida. I'm new to the market. I just want the opportunity, and you need to pay me what you think I'm worth. I'm not going to tell you ahead of time what you need to pay me. This is what I charge. Hi, Carolina.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, there you are. Go for it. Yeah.
Hi.
Anonymous.
Well, I was just I was thinking, like, when Sarah was telling me about it today, I said, everyone's doing it. Like, I've been in a situation where another agent wanted me to lower my my commission. I didn't feel comfortable. But here in Houston, it would make sense for me to say to someone, list with me. I don't know the areas, or I don't know the market exactly like somebody else, but I'm willing, but the work is still the same. And the knowledge of real estate in itself is still the same, but I'd be willing to do it at a lesser, for a lesser commission. So for someone that's new to the area, I really feel like it's, it might not be such a bad idea, but people are already doing it. They're just calling it discount brokerage. We look down upon it, but this makes it seem like we're not going to give you some crappy service, or we're all going to be disgruntled because you're lowering the price. You're just going to get.
And here's the thing, Carolina, you may go out and kill it and earn exactly what you wanted before. So don't automatically assume that you're going to get a discounted rate. But if you can go in and say, hey, look, here's the way we work, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to prove to you that I'm worth it, and I'm willing to bet on it, basically, and saying you can decide after the transaction, I think that's really powerful. Like, you would completely get my attention if you said that. And here's the thing. My personality, at the end of it, I would be like, that person earned every second of it because, you know, they just did everything, and I would want to pay, like, whatever they were worth. And so, you know, I think it's going to be a really interesting sales pitch for you to go to for sell by owners or wherever you find these people for listings. Here's the thing that we figured out in doing some research, and some of the questions that we put to the client was, we did provide to them some bookends. And so we said, you know, in a real fun way, it was like, you know, whether you think our service is worth $200 or $2,000, you know, it's up to you. So we sort of we put some bookends on it, right? And then we gave them the average. So we said the average last year company-wide was this, and if you need to figure out how to calculate what you should pay, you know, and then we gave them some questions to sort of ask themselves. You know, did they negotiate a certain terms for you? Did they save you 2 weeks of time? Did they whatever. So I can't even remember all the questions. So we did sort of give some guidance, because I think if people were left to their own devices, they would feel uncomfortable deciding.
Right.
But you know, and so we'll see. I think it's the fact that Brian told this guy the other day, and he was willing to write him a check on the spot. I think it bodes well for, you know, people in general. They want to pay people what they're worth.
You know, I just negotiated $65,000 off of list price, almost 10%, and I'm like, how much would that guy have paid me? Like, that is unheard of in Houston, like $65,000 off list price. Maybe he was more than I am, you know.
You know, and I've heard in crazy markets before, and I've never done this, but a lady that I worked with, it was basically, this was an all-cash buyer. He was buying $1 million house, and he said, look, for every dollar that you can get it under what I'm willing to pay, we'll split it. So he was like, in addition to whatever you get paid. And so I think there's people out there who are not greedy. You know, this isn't like I'm going to take advantage of these people. I don't think we're going to attract those types of people. Sure, you'll have a few here and there, but I think for the most part, people are going to be really excited, especially in Raleigh. When this service doesn't exist, people are going to be thrilled to have someone looking out for them. So we'll be able to report back soon and see, you know, if we go on the one-a-day model, it's going to be great.
What other questions do we have? These are good questions. 5 days of infancy.
So now that you've got that criteria that you just mentioned, Zach, is really kind of an important thing. I thought that's brilliant, to try and give them, at least they're going down your road or your trail, to kind of give them an idea of what they need to do. It makes perfect sense. So I think it's I think it's bold. I think it's innovative. I think it's, you know, to the rest of the world, it's not going to look anything. It's going to look brilliant once it's said and done. Think about it. It's going to be interesting.
You see it in museums sometimes, a suggested donation. You see it sometimes just in the restaurant business in tips and suggested tips. So we were wanting to kind of make sure that people, you know, the average consumer, especially in Raleigh right now, they don't kind of know what that range is, and so that was pretty key for us to be able to kind of include that.
And let's face it, like, the person who you're going to take to 2 or 3 buildings downtown is going to be different than the person you take to, you know, four cities in the suburbs. I mean, that person who is relocating, but they're probably spending more. They probably want more house. They probably, you know, maybe their company's paying for part of it. So, you know, you just never know. My guess on this guy is, that the first guy that Brian tried this with is going to pay him at least as much or more than he was uncomfortable asking for. That's my guess. And we'll see if I'm right. I was wrong once before.
And in full disclosure, he asked what the commission was from this rental.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll tell him it's $100.
Go ahead and tell $100.
$100. Oof.
$100.
Oh.
It's 6 hours with him. So he understands it, and he gets it, and that's kind of what we put on there. You know, so if you want to know what it is, we'll be happy to tell you. Yeah, we're not going to hide anything.
Brian, tell everybody, where did this referral come from?
come from one of the top leading producers in our area who
came from another real estate agent.
didn't want to deal with a rental. And
this is really cool because again, like in Raleigh, it's such a different market than Denver, than Dallas, than Houston, and if this works out in Raleigh under the pay what you want model, I am convinced that you could literally roll this out in absolutely any city in the country. Whether apartment buildings pay or don't pay, whether it's the tenant pays or the landlord pays, whether, there are apartments or mostly private rentals, I don't think it would matter. I just think it's so fascinating. Brian,
you're not making it exclusive to just private rentals. You're doing it to private and to apartment, correct?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And that was one of the other questions that Zach and I bounced around in the sandbox a lot was what will the market pay? And, was it that $495 number? And now that's the beauty of it. We don't have to worry about what the market will bear. It's just going to come.
Right.
So
interesting.
I'm curious if we can find a volunteer in Dallas or Houston to make some Craigslist ads and offer this how the pitch goes. Pay what you want. Because I believe it could draw some pretty high-end leads. I know personally, when you see something free and then you see somebody charging $5, $10, I think we're programmed to kind of go with
what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. So and then knowing this is a really low risk, high reward for Dallas and Denver or Dallas and Houston because you're going to get paid anyway 9 out of 10 times. But just curious if people would reach out because they're putting more value on the fact that we are charging something or asking for something more than just, hey, this is free, too good to be true. I think it puts value on what we do, and I think that you would get hits from it.
What's interesting, Brian, as you say that, is I'm thinking go to the luxury market with this. I mean, think about somebody who's, if they're going to sell $1 million house and you're like, no, you get to pay what you want. We'll list your house. Maybe you work in there like, hey, we expect you to pay a buyer's agent this much, but pay us what you want. Instead of 20 grand, maybe you get 10 grand, but 10 grand still a lot of money. Like, why not take it to the luxury? I don't think it has to be just done at the lower levels.
So the last thing I'll say is there was a study done forever ago. We don't use DVD players. We'll use iPads. If you go into a store and there's 3 iPads, they're all sitting out in front of you, you can touch them and play with them and all that. One is $99, one's $149, and one is $199. I think 9 out of every 10 people go for that middle price point. So if you suggested what I'm worth, odds are, Vegas-wise, more times than not, they're going to pick that middle number. So that's really your sweet spot. So you would put $995, $495, $195. 9 out of 10 people are probably going to pay you the $495. Just suggested thought.
I think that they put actually on their FAQs, and again, this is like 5 days in the works, but they put, whether you pay $200 or $2,000 or anything in between. And so people mentally might be thinking $1,000 is in between. You never know, Agent B. That would be pretty sweet to get $1,000 a rental client.
Well, and then we put that, hey, this is it. Then the average was a half a month's rent. So maybe people calculate. We try to put a lot of different ideas because everybody's going to value things differently, right? Like somebody may value David Young's negotiating skills. Somebody may value, Brian's creativity in marketing. Somebody may value, Samita's knowledge of a neighborhood. I mean, there's going to be different values placed on all these things, and so I think this just gives the opportunity to say, man, we can. I'm like blown away by this. Just the response, just in even a couple days, has been really cool.
And Samita asked a question about because you said, is it anything? Somebody in Dallas, or Brian asked somebody in Dallas that might want to volunteer, and I think Brian's question is, there are people who want to pay for things, and if somebody said this is a free version, and then a slew of people have said free, and somebody says my service is $signs behind it, I would be like, wow, should I use the $sign one?
You're going to read
like,
it.
For me, I'm like, if there's a VIP option, I'm going to be like, should I be VIP? And I don't gear towards the lower end. That's just because of who I am. So Samita, she's like, as a social experiment, I'm happy to participate. And I think there's a good point where if for all the people that on Craigslist that are like 1 month free, 2 months free, what if it's like, you know, relocation experience, pay what you want. And then somebody might be like, what does that mean? And then they read the poster of, you only pay me what you think the service is worth to you, the time I spend, the energy, the deals that I find you, you know, I'm going to roll out the red carpet for you and you pay me what you think it's worth at the end. That's probably going to start more conversations or garner eyeballs, even in a market where this service is traditionally free. So Brian's like, well, is anybody in Dallas willing to try it? Samita's like, I'll try it. Why not, right?
We don't lose here.
Yeah.
Either way, but it might be interesting to see who calls me.
Who calls you? Yeah, I'd be super fascinated. And Zach, your point about the luxury market is really interesting because in Houston, if you're in the million plus category and you know the going rate's 6% in Houston, I don't know what it is in Raleigh. You hit 5 million, it's a 5% commission, but up until then, it's a 6% commission. And you go in there and you say, look, we got to pay the agent representing the buyer, whatever that is, 3%. But I want you to pay me only what I'm worth. If the way that I market your house, the way that I bring you people, if I sell it or whatever, I think there's something really, really cool about that. And you're right. I think there'd be some people in the luxury market that might be willing to talk to us.
Well, I had a call from a guy who was looking for to lease a $3,300 house. And he said, you know, he called me and he asked, what's the problem with it? He had called somebody else and it was a referral from a past agent that worked with us. And she asked me and I said, well, they're only paying agents $500, the person over there, and no one's going to show the property. So he called me and said, I didn't know I can do this. He goes, I'll pay you. Can you go show me this property? If I pay you, can you show me the property? I'm like, I said, I'll show you the property. I'm okay with the $500. I should have said, absolutely, you pay me what you think it's worth. I was the only person who was willing to take it.
Want. Exactly.
Man. I'm going to call him back.
Next time.
So I think what you do is I think you call him back and say, you know what, because of this phone call, you know, another we have an office in Raleigh that has a pay what you want mentality. And after I hung up with you, I was starting to think that this is probably something that, you know, what do you think about that? At least get his opinion. He might be willing to pay you something even at this point and then get his opinion and then get his referrals.
Right.
Okay, I'll try that.
Hey, I just saw another chat fly by and I didn't catch it. My phone, I can't read them. So somebody said something about $3,500 and a concession or something. What was that?
My client today could afford a $3,500 a month rental, and all he cared about was any concession, whether it was $100 or more. Some people just want you to be willing to give something.
He wanted
something. Caroline,
so this client, Brian Jones knows who this is. This is a guy that I've been working with for a few days, and you know, first he started with a $2,500 budget. Now he's at $3,500. But everywhere we went to, which were nice high-end properties, all he kept asking for, what's your special? And one lady was like, well, you know, we'll waive your application fee. And when we left, he was happy just with that. He didn't care what they were giving him, as long as they were giving him something. Some people just want you to be willing to do something.
Well, that's
I feel like offering, you know, some type of, you know, like saying, you know, pay what you want in the sense is that.
Yeah.
I mean, some people just want something.
Yep, that's a big something. Pay what you want. Nobody can give you a bigger something than that.
Everybody knows the Houston market right now is super competitive, though. They know that there's specials being flown around. There's 3 months free on a one-year lease.
Crazy.
That's going on out there. And people just, it's crazy. It is crazy. So I don't know if everybody's getting wise to that, but
this guy is coming from Montana. He had no idea what the market was like here, but it's just, you know, when you meet those people that's just their personality. Everywhere they go, they just want something, you know, like, and he's a great guy. I think we really got to know each other today, and you know, he's a really nice person. I think he's just one of those people that feels like when he goes somewhere, he wants to feel like he got a deal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's it.
This is
a really simple
like
thing for them.
Yeah.
I got a deal by paying exactly what I wanted to pay.
That's a super deal.
We are going to be working on some communication materials for this, and thank you very much, Agent B, for brainstorming this. I think it's the idea of the year. I think the hackathon was the idea of last year. I think this is the idea of this year. So way to go, Agent B.
There you go, Brian.
Welcome to the
Awesome.
team, and thanks for my next big idea. And, you know, I think it's really cool. And you know what? Even as we grow, I hope we always stay small in our ability to adopt ideas and implement them right away. So we'll get you some materials and some marketing lingo. And I don't know if anybody from Denver is on the call or not, but I can't wait to move to Denver just to
Get your license.
just to go out and I already have my license in Denver. Yeah, I can't wait to get there and sell a bunch of stuff.
Absolutely.
Be great.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your questions and comments. And